Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the 90-day breakthrough challenge. Today is day 45. We are exactly halfway through with this challenge. I probably may have miscounted. It's either 44 or 45, but we are halfway through with this challenge. And this week we are speaking about necessity. We covered some ingredients yesterday and specifically spoke about the ways in which necessity empowers you. And so today I want to just revisit where we started this challenge from. And I would like us to start by reevaluating our level of commitment. Because what happens is just like, the earth has its seasons, every country has a weather that has its seasons, warm, cold, winter, summer, all those kinds of seasons. Our lives also have seasons. Our emotions are always on the roll. They are high, they are low. They are hot, they are cold. They are interested, they are uninterested. And that will happen all the time. If I only do things when I feel like doing things that are important, oh, time will just keep fleeting by. And that is the same for you. If we allow our emotions to be the determinant of when we are going to invest the seeds we need to invest, to apply the effort we need, to pursue the goals we need to pursue, it is going to be a losing battle for all of us. So let's review, because commitment is subject to the changing emotions. Self-discipline is subject to the changing emotions. Clarity is subject to the changing emotions. Sometimes you feel very clear. You know what you want. Sometimes you don't. And so let's start off with this exercise. And you are going to, to rate yourself on a list of items that I will give you. Rate yourself on these items and let's see where you are. And today we will do it slightly more comprehensively, right? Number one is your physical health. On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you? Where do you feel you are on physical health? Where 1 is this body is, you need a machine or a tractor to pull this body to work. And 10 is where you are at your peak energy. And where are you right now? It's so important for you to be aware about that. Number 2, where are you in terms of your emotional energy? The first is physical, the second is emotional energy. Where are you? And that can change quite quickly, but the importance is knowing, being able to decipher, to read where you are, so that then you do not become a victim of the emotion you are in, but the proactive person changing. You are the one changing. You can, because you can't change something that you're not even aware is low. Number 3, your interconnectedness, your relationships. And this doesn't have anything to do with how many relationships you have, just the interconnectedness of your important relationships. Where are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, are you at a 1, 5, 8, 10? Because everyone, you will realize the exercise we are currently doing, trying to create the endpoint at age 65 using other people's voices, it ends up reflecting back to you what's going on in your relationships. So in terms of your interconnectedness, your relationships, where are you? Number 4, time. And it's about the awareness of time, because that's one thing, trust me, if you've never done these exercises we've been doing here, your awareness of time is always distorted, because we live today so much in touch with yesterday, we almost feel like yesterday is still accessible to us. But when you do the exercise where you project forward and see from now until I turn in the next 10 years, what does that look like? You realize that you don't have as much time as you realize. And so the efficiency with which you utilize your time, the awareness you have about how your time is being applied, how much time you have left, will have an impact in terms of what level of necessity you perceive, so that you can start acting with some greater urgency than before. So on time, where are you? Number 5, this is a composite of work, career, mission, because it varies between all of us. Work, career, mission. In other words, the biggest productive area of investment of effort, the one area where you invest most of your effort so that you can have impact on other people that is not purely based on relationships, where you're delivering some form of service or producing some form of product, adding some form of currency that can be measured in terms, can translate into almost money. Actually, it translates to money most of the time. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? Your career will be one thing that is common among all of us, but it can also be mission. For example, you want to become a speaker, you want to become a coach, you want to become a business trainer, you want to become a business person, you want to become a creative artist of some sort. Where are you on a scale of 1 to 10? And then number 6 is finances. Looking at your goals, where you want to go in the next, between now and 65, looking at your financial goals, where are you today? And where you are today is not about how much money you have right now, but how much commitment do you have to keeping these goals at the forefront so that it doesn't slip by, it doesn't disappear from your reach. Because maybe today you might not earn the money, but today you can earn the discipline that will make earning money tomorrow easier. Today you can earn the skill that makes being able to be paid for what you are worth tomorrow easier. And that commitment, making your financial goals a force of necessity on your life, helps you it makes it easier for you to be more disciplined, more consistent. And finally, number 7, we will just narrow it down to contribution, your contribution. And the question here is, right now, when you reflect about your contribution, to what extent are you committed to contribute the highest possible value you can in the course of your life? To what extent are you committed to contribute the highest possible value? So there you have them: physical body, your emotional energy. So the physical body, physical energy. Second, emotions. Third is the relationships, looking at your interconnectedness in your most important relationships. Number 4, time. Number 5, a composite of work, career, and mission, where career is generally the biggest. I included work and career because, trust me, there are so many people who are working, but they are not pursuing a career. The reason is they don't have a career vision in mind. And so they take up whatever work comes their way. So their life is shaped by the opportunities rather than by their vision. And so that in 10 years of working at 3, 4, 5 different companies, they have not developed any particular skill consistently. They just have a sample of 7, 8, 9 different skills. And sometimes we fall into that trap, but the more clear we are about the direction we want to go, it becomes easier for us to build for long term. Finances are an important bit. I believe 100% that all of us right now, if in the next 1 year we became financially stable, we will feel better about ourselves. We will be able to contribute better. Of course, I have seen people earn money, but they don't have discipline. I've seen people earn money, but they don't have self-confidence, self-esteem. They try to use money to buy self-confidence and self-esteem, where that never works. Because the hardest part of self-esteem is the esteem I have with myself. That esteem does not need money to be bought. It doesn't need anything extra. It just needs me changing my mindset about myself. Today, it is free. I can do it right now. I can change my self-respect right now by starting showing up at the things that I commit to. And that for me has been tested again severely during this 90-day challenge. And I know by the time we finish the 90 days, I will have been stretched, which is something I am celebrating, because I would still be here in the same environment, but I'm not being stretched because I haven't set a goal that requires me to stretch. I woke up today at 2:45 and I'm like, my goodness, I am heading out. But because I had gone to bed early, I was in bed by 8 yesterday. I am still, carrying the energy from yesterday. I'm like, I'm going out. Then I get out of bed, stand on the ground, and I'm like, oh, today is actually the final day of its kind. All right, then just like reset the rhythm, read through my goals, read through my vision. I had during the workshop, you guys, I had shown you my vision. This is my vision, and I keep jotting things down there because then it allows me to keep thinking about it. But I keep jotting things down here without changing the vision itself. I don't have permission to change this until June 2021, so that by then, if something will have really changed, then there must be a clear reason why. Otherwise, I stick to this. So wake up in the morning, my file is by the bedside, I see the file, I open and read the pages that I have assigned myself to read every day, read the main vision, read the core of my personal statement, and then take a pen and write down my top 10 goals, and I scribble them quickly and look at how I was feeling when I woke up and how I was feeling by the time I was leaving the house. I'm totally a totally different person. And then you drive outside, it's freezing cold, but it's if I become subject to that, it means today, if I carry the emotion I woke up with, it's going to affect what my physical body, of course, my emotions, how I show up in my relationships, how I utilize the time. From the time I read my vision, I read my goals, and like I recalibrated myself and jumped into the shower, I was ready to make better use of this day than I could have if I just carried that emotion I woke up with all through. Then, of course, thinking about your contribution. What are you truly giving? And remember, we had used the acronym of LIFE, life, which is legacy, impact, freedom, and energy. Where freedom and energy are things you experience, freedom and energy, those are things you will experience. If you get to your peak, to your highest, you will live with very high energy and you will experience maximum freedom so that you can do the first two. You can create an amazing legacy and you can have the highest possible impact. I may not have characterized those two, where life and the LIF, L and I, the legacy and impact, that is the output. That is what is going to result. But your aim is for you to be like a generator rotating with the most amount of freedom, where you are free to rotate and focus and act on your goals with the most amount of freedom and experiencing the most amount of energy when you are doing that. And all these things affect our physical body, our emotions, our relationships, how we utilize our time, how we show up in our career, our work and mission. Of course, eventually the finances, how we deal with finances and how much finances we accumulate, and what quality of contribution we give. So after you have rated, I want you to take stock of what is the gap, where are the gaps. Number one, I want you to think through the work that you have done in terms of rating yourself on a scale of 1 to 10. Which area do you have the biggest gap? The question is, why do you have the biggest gap? And I know that it can be an area where you actually have a big gap, or it might just be one area where you're more strict with yourself, so that you are perceiving a gap that is bigger than it actually is. So which area do you have the biggest gap, and why could that be? Do you have, on your list of goals, do you have any goals that might eventually help you to bridge that gap? In the stories that we are currently writing, what somebody from your family might say at your 65th birthday, what a friend of yours might say, what a colleague from work might say, are there any statements that point to the necessity for you to build in that area? Or is it an area that perhaps for you at this point, maybe you can just continue doing a little bit of work, but it's not a key focus for now? Because if the area where you are not doing very well is a core area of focus right now, then it's going to require very clear goals in that area and very strict measurement, consistent measurement, so that you ensure that you actually grow in that area. You grow where you can grow. Because some goals sometimes run out of time. And that's because maybe they are not as important, but sometimes it's because they fall by the wayside. They fall from our awareness. The other question to ask yourself is which two areas are you doing really well? If you have any area where you are at a 7 or an 8, then you have lessons to learn from there and transfer those lessons to the other areas. But as it happens with a lot of the people that I usually coach, when you're starting with this process, you find that almost all your areas are up to maybe a 5 or a 6. So that if any area is above 6, you will find that you've defined it a little narrowly, such that you need to look at that goal more comprehensively to see what other ingredients you need to be aware of. Because this is what we've done here is it's not as in-depth as I usually do when I'm in a session room with people physically present, but this is me really looking at, you're evaluating your life. A lot of coaches use what is called the wheel of life. So this is quite close to the wheel of life. Becoming aware about where you are, so that as you create your vision at 65, as you write your goals daily today, as you continue reviewing your vision today on an ongoing basis and move towards writing a mission statement, which becomes your marching orders, all this awareness continues to crystallize and allows you to realize that you first have to earn your own respect, right? And then you can start enjoying any other form of respect that is added on to you. It's there is a kingdom inside you, right? There is a kingdom inside you. Unless you win the favor of this kingdom, all the other kingdoms sometimes make you feel nervous. They make you suspicious. People compliment you. You'll get complimented by 10 people, but you only remember the one criticism that was said by one person. In fact, you can be complimented by 500 people, and then one person criticizes you, and you end up remembering mostly the criticism, right? And that's because there is a part of me inside that does not believe the positive compliments that are coming. But the more I become aware about that tendency and develop that part, the easier it becomes, so that I win my own self-respect. How do I win my self-respect and self-trust? Increasing my level of awareness, so that then it becomes necessary for me to show up consistently, to build in these areas in my physical body. If I set a goal to do 10 push-ups every day, and I'm skipping from day to day to day, I am hurting myself. I would rather not have that goal. Or I would rather reduce that goal to what I would be able to do. So that I said I will do 3 push-ups and do those 3 push-ups. Now it becomes a source of self-esteem. It becomes a source of healing. But if I say I will do 25 and I do 7 and I stop there, I have done the push-ups, but I walk away from the scene of doing those push-ups feeling bad about myself. So becoming aware about where you are. If it's in your physical body, where are you? When you set your goals, you set the direction. This is the direction I want to go. But you don't set an overly ambitious goal so that it ends up becoming a source of regret, a source of ill emotion or guilt, or a perception of inadequacy. Because when we were adolescents and from other experiences in life, we've already accumulated enough of inadequacy. There's no reason to add any more. Same thing to your emotions. Beginning to learn what are your most common emotions and what causes them. There's a session I usually do, almost 2 hours, where we just delve specifically to define what emotions are and what emotions mean. So for example, most people don't know that anger, when it's purely anger, because a lot of the time we say, oh, I'm mad. When being mad can mean different things. It can mean you are disappointed, it can mean you're frustrated, it can mean you are anxious, or it can mean you are truly angry. And each of these has a specific meaning. For example, when you are angry, if you are truly angry, it means you have an important rule that somebody has violated. You have an important rule to you that somebody has violated or that you have violated. So that sometimes you do something, for example, you set a goal, you didn't show up for that goal. And then after that, you meet somebody else who says something that quote unquote angers you. But maybe it's not this person, it's the fact that you didn't show up. Now you're carrying that guilt in you. Now you become easily triggered or irritated. So anger means you have a rule that has been violated either by yourself or by somebody else. And if you are going to resolve the problem of anger in yourself, number one, you have to figure out what the rule is. Number two, you have to determine whether the rule is reasonable or unreasonable. Because if it's unreasonable, if, for example, it's a wife and she has a rule that her husband must return home by 5:30 p.m. and sit in the couch in the sitting room, she's going to be angry the rest of her life. That's because number one, she has a rule which she may not even be aware of. Number two, it's an unreasonable rule, a rule that is contingent on other people's behavior. So you figure out what your rule is, figure out whether it's reasonable. If it's not reasonable, you change it, right? If it's reasonable and the people that end up violating that rule can respect it, you clarify the rule. You clarify it to yourself so that you tell yourself that when I set goals and I don't show up, I end up feeling bad about myself the whole day. Or if it's another person, if when I call you and you don't call me back, it means X, Y, and Z, so that that rule is clear. And that is the value of emotions, because I can spend my entire life just feeling emotions and responding to what I feel. But I begin to gain power over my emotions when I realize that my emotions are signals. They are leading me in a certain direction. So that the necessity with which I show up every day does not become subject to my emotions. It becomes subject to my vision. And if it's subject to my emotions, it's subject to my positive emotions, which I can build up in the morning. It doesn't become extinguished by my negative emotions. I have spent a little bit of time speaking about this after the exercise so that it allows you time to see what comes into your mind, or, see what reflection comes up into your mind. Now, I want you to rate yourself on these four more areas, apart from what we've spoken about. These four more areas. Number one, clarity. Clarity on a scale of 1 to 10. How clear are you about what you want by the time you turn 65? How clear are you? It is so important for us to continue pursuing clarity, because trust me, for some of you, the day clarity really hits you, most of the goals you currently have will drop off. You will realize that there are some goals which are merely about you wanting to eventually gain the respect or recognition that you think you deserve. It's an unfortunate truth, and it's something that I've seen over and over in my life, where I had goals to learn to pronounce every word correctly. And then I discovered it's because I grew up stuttering. And therefore, I always felt like I will never be respected and appreciated and loved until I learned to pronounce every English word correctly. I used to read the dictionary from beginning to the end, trying to pronounce each of those words. Unfortunately, I was doing it at a time when my Kikisi accent, my vernacular accent, was still very strong. It was a big struggle. It helped me learn to speak better, but it was an unreasonable goal because it was driven by an inadequacy. And as soon as I started trusting myself and appreciating myself, recognizing that the fact that I speak a certain way sets me apart, it became a strength rather than a weakness. So clarity on a scale of 1 to 10, how clear are you? Some of your goals are going to be unnecessary. Some of the statements you wrote about some of your relatives or friend or colleagues are going to need to be striked out because they are not necessarily driven by you fulfilling who you are, but by you trying to plug some gap you feel there has been in the past. And that is how we smuggle the past into the present and into the future. We smuggle the incomplete past. We smuggle the unresolved past. The areas where there are unaddressed tensions, we smuggle them. And all these things cloud our clarity. Number two, a necessity. That's what we are speaking about. A necessity is the compulsion to do what you have to. The compulsion to do what you have to reach your goals. On a scale of 1 to 10, how strong is necessity over your life? When you think of necessity, just think of one situation where you had a deadline to meet over something that is important that had to be delivered to somebody else. That is the power of necessity. You stayed up and sometimes until the last minute where you are watching the clock and working. If we watched the clock and worked with the same intensity we do when we have an external deadline, our lives will change. We would not struggle earning money or attracting big opportunities or optimizing our skills, experiencing high levels of energy and living with greater freedom. The way we watch the clock, the amount of productivity some people can do, especially if they're writing, say, a report, in the last 30 minutes of writing that report before the deadline, the amount of productivity we have, if that was replicated even a quarter of our life, it would change everything in our life. So necessity, I hope that gives you a clearer view of what necessity means. In other words, here is a smaller question to ask yourself. And this is a reflection on the last 1 month, right? The last 1 month. What proportion of your decisions in the last 1 month were as a result of a premeditated strategy rather than the circumstances present in the moment? What proportion of your decisions were premeditated? What proportion of your decisions, let's say yesterday, the events of yesterday, what proportion of the decisions you made yesterday were a result of a strategy you already have in mind about the direction you want to go in? And what proportion was a result of what was happening in that moment? Because that's how we figure out to what extent is necessity exerting itself in our life to guide us to the direction we have chosen. Because all the goals we have, all the desires we have, the actions we take, all of them contribute to taking us in a particular direction. Your environment always wants to take you in 10 different directions at the same time. That is the nature of environment. The environment is showing you everywhere you stand. If you look around you, you will see a ton of objects. But when you finish this session, you are only going to need probably 1 or 2 or 3 of these objects in this environment for you to do what you need to do next. In other words, when you stand up from where you are right now and you leave that spot, you are not going to live in 10 different directions. You're only going to move in one direction. You're going to pick 1 or 2 or 3 specific objects and move in a specific direction. So what is the necessity for you to move in that direction? And that's the same necessity that must apply over our life. The third ingredient is consistency. Consistency. As an attribute of your behavior, how strong is your consistency on a scale of 1 to 10? And consistency is the one area where we can earn our self-respect the quickest. If we can set goals and show up consistently, that is the one area where we earn our own respect the quickest is in the area of consistency. And it is in consistency of effort. Forget about consistency of results, because sometimes we don't have control over that. Because sometimes when we start doing something new, we need to persist longer. We need to show up over and over until eventually we produce results. I was reading the story of a gentleman called James Clear. He is the author of a book called The Atomic Habits. This gentleman was running a blog for a long time before he wrote this book. And I went onto his blog, and there are at least 250, almost 300 very high quality articles. Then I looked at YouTube. He had over 100 interviews before he even clinched a deal to publish that book, Atomic Habits. Look at that journey. But eventually, he got the book out. But his biggest result is not the book. It's the amount of respect he must have for himself and even from his colleagues. And now, of course, the amount of compensation that is coming in as a result of that effort, such that some of what he's being paid for now are articles that he wrote the first 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks of doing this consistently. Have you ever, apart from school or class, this formal external curricula, have you ever pursued an internal curriculum of learning and growth by yourself on something that you care about consistently until you saw progress? On a scale of 1 to 10, where are you in terms of consistency? And the fourth one is self-discipline. Self-discipline. That's the ability to do what you need to do, whether you feel like it or not. The ability to show up in what you committed to show up in, whether you feel like or not. And consistency works together with self-discipline. So consistency is about the predictability you will do things. Self-discipline is in the reliability with which you will do the specific thing. Because you can be very consistent, but you cut out the things that are uncomfortable. You're consistent. You wake up consistently at the same time in the morning, but you wake up and you go on social media. So you are consistent in terms of waking up, but you're not self-disciplined in doing the highest quality work. And that's why they have to work together. You are consistent, yes. You have shown up for the meeting, Judith, yes. But are you prepared for this meeting? We are discussing quantitative, or maybe we are discussing mixed methods in ethical research in HIV among the rural women in East Africa. You are consistent, you came on time and you always here for these meetings, but are you self-disciplined enough to prepare before the meeting to show up? Elena, you are consistent in writing every day, right? You show up and you write every day. Are you disciplined to write on the subjects that you may not feel like, but that you need to write on to keep you moving forward? So there we have all those together. And now I want us to speak very briefly about anticipation, very briefly about anticipation. When we create a vision that lies ahead in the future, one of the forces that will help us to stay consistent and to manage our emotions is to learn to anticipate. When you wrote a story about what your parent or brother or sister would say, what a colleague would say or a friend would say, it's our biggest responsibility is to anticipate, to keep that at the top of our mind. Anticipation is a positive. It's the positive side of expectation, and it's more compelling. It's because we can wish for things to happen, right? We can wish for something to happen, which means subconsciously we have resolved that it's not going to happen, right? We can hope for things to happen, which means that we would like it to happen, but we don't know whether it's going to happen. We can expect for things to happen, where we are looking at, we have greater confidence. We are expecting that we will see it, but we don't feel like we have control in terms of contributing to make it happen, but we can anticipate. And this is a higher level of activating your faith, showing up, committing to knowing internally that this is going to happen. And I am anticipating because I am doing my part. So it goes from wishing, where I wish I could, which means I know I won't. Or I hope, right? I hope they show up. Where I have an inkling that they will show up, but it's who knows? Or I expect, where I have confidence that it's going to happen, but I don't feel like I have any specific contribution to make. Expectation is wishing, hope, and expectation are passive. The next level is anticipating. I anticipate to complete this project next time. We end up practicing anticipation on the areas where we feel we have contribution to make. So how do you move your goals from wishing to past hoping, past expectation to anticipating? And what happens when you anticipate? I'm going to give you a few things that happen. Number one, anticipation causes you to prepare. Anticipation causes you to prepare. There's a difference between expecting visitors and anticipating visitors. I'm expecting to receive some guests in my house tomorrow, right? But tomorrow, when it gets to 1 p.m. and they're coming in at 4, I am anticipating them to arrive at 4. Now it is real. When you anticipate, it is real. And when it's real, you prepare for it. Are you wishing for the life you want at 65? Are you hoping for it? Are you expecting it? Or are you anticipating it so that you can start preparing? The second thing anticipation do is anticipation causes you to value today. It causes you to value your mindset today, your effort today, your actions today, your direction today, your priorities today. Anticipation causes you to value today. Anticipation is what happens when you are about to submit a project you've been working on and it's 30 minutes to the deadline. You are anticipating that you will click submit and it will go. And what do? You value those 30 minutes. You value that 1 hour. The bigger challenge is beginning to value longer periods of time. How do you value the next 40 years, the next 25 years, the next 15 years, however far you are from 65? How do you value all this time because of what you are anticipating at 65? Which is why this week we are speaking about necessity, making things compelling so that then it becomes easier to build and sustain the habit of anticipation. The third thing that anticipation will do is that anticipation will cause you to generate good ideas. Anticipation will cause you to generate good ideas. For some of us, we need to move past the strategies we've been using, to move beyond the ideas we've been implementing, and be open for new ideas to show up that will move us to the next level. And the stronger your anticipation, the greater speed with which you will implement new ideas, the greater openness with which you will welcome new ideas. Anticipation will cause you to prepare. It will cause you to value today. It will cause you to generate good ideas. The fourth thing that anticipation will do for you, anticipation will cause you to look for ways to help others. Anticipation will cause you to look for ways to help others. When you anticipate that you are going to succeed, right? And you realize, perhaps we haven't delved into this as much as we should, your vision at 65 is going to take all of your effort and a lot of help from other people. It's going to take all of your effort and a lot of help from other people. The people whose stories you're writing down, whose speeches you're writing down, the people whose opinions or views you're writing down, if they are going to be of the most help to you, you have to be of valuable help to them. So the stronger your anticipation of where you will be, the greater your responsibility to help the important people in your life so that they can too move towards a greater vision for their own life. Anticipation, everything that requires the strongest level of anticipation has to do with how your input, your activities, your actions affect other people's lives. So that the better you prepare, the more impactful you will be in terms of helping other people, helping them live better, helping them go farther, helping them dream bigger. The final way in which anticipation will affect you, anticipation will empower you with an abundance mindset. Anticipation will empower you with an abundance mindset. When you anticipate, you operate from a higher level of faith than when you merely wish. In fact, when you wish, you operate from pessimism. When you hope, you operate almost from a level of suspicion. Will it happen? Will it not happen? I hope the leadership of this country will start taking the country seriously. I hope it's very detached. Expectation is probably the lowest level of faith. You expect. It's there's a think of a difference between a mother, pregnant mother who is expecting, right? And look at what level of energy she is operating with when she has learned that she is expecting and she is 1 month or for 6 weeks, right? And the anticipation she has in the last 2 weeks of the pregnancy. What we are trying to do is to pull that energy of the last 2 weeks when it is inevitable. She hasn't seen the baby. Yes, she knows that the baby is in there because she has invested enough emotion. She has invested necessity. Like she has carved out space to rest and eaten well and seen the doctors. But the level of anticipation at that time, where you cannot shake her belief, that is the highest level of faith, where she knows that this journey is going to end. And she knows with every fiber of her being, to the extent that it depends on her, this journey is going to end up well, compared to the expectation at the beginning. At some day, maybe some day prior to that, she hoped, or maybe she wished that she could get married. Eventually, she got married. I mean, she didn't have any control over that necessarily. And then she hoped to get pregnant, right? Once she got pregnant, she became expectant. And that is the crossing point between hope and expecting. When you're hoping, you're stepping out, you are outside the scenario. You haven't committed. But once she has become expectant, she has biologically been committed on a 9-month journey. But the level of energy rises when she goes beyond expecting to anticipating, right? And not all pregnant mothers are expectant. Some of them are anticipating. They're anticipating that the end of that pregnancy right from the beginning. In other words, they operate with a higher level of energy. They have a higher level of conviction and clarity. And I worked in a maternal health clinic for almost 3 years, and I saw that over and over, where the energy with which, if you see a mother who is showing up at work and producing like everyone else, and she's despite all the challenges that come with pregnancy, she is showing up and she's in a good mood to the extent that she can, that mother is beyond expecting. That is the expecting, that is the reality, which doesn't necessarily require her to do anything specific, but there's anticipating, still living her life, knowing that this is a season, it will come and go, but I'm going to make it count. So those are the 5 ways in which anticipation can help you. So my question to you is, how can you build anticipation in your life in the following areas? How can you build anticipation in your life in the following areas? The number 1 is growth. And this is a question for you to answer after we are done with today. Anticipation, so that it can cause you to prepare, it can cause you to value today, it can cause you to generate good ideas, it can cause you to help others, and it can empower you with an abundance mindset, knowing that you will succeed. You will be there. You need to stop worrying about money. Value the money you have today, invest it, but you need to stop being too worried. Number 1, how do you anticipate in your area of growth? Number 2, your area of skills. Number 3, your area of opportunities, the opportunities that you are going to access. Number 4, abundance. Abundance. How can you switch your mind to start seeing yourself as abundance, being abundant, as being well, amply supplied? And number 5, area of significance stroke influence. Significance stroke influence. How do you start anticipating the kind of influence you will have, so that when you start seeing yourself in terms of when you are 50, what will your word, your opinion be worth? So you start getting in touch with these elements in terms of opportunities. What opportunities will you have access to when you are 50? Diba, will you be appointed to one of the infectious disease panels in the World Health Organization, so that you have to start thinking in that direction today? Brainy, will you be hosting a retreat for 400 people who have come from across Africa when you are 50? And they are all seated in this hall waiting for you to teach them about self-care, about healing, right? Rumbi, will you be congregating in maybe even in South Africa or in Zimbabwe or in Egypt, one of Africa's largest healthy living and nutrition conferences? It's when you begin to view yourself, to anticipate the impact that you will have, anticipate the growth that is coming your way, anticipate the opportunities that are going to open, anticipate the influence and significance you will have as an individual, so that ignites your necessity to show up differently today, to show up consistently today, to build energy in yourself, so that you begin each day with a level of energy that you have chosen, not your environment has chosen for you. You have chosen for yourself. Anticipate the proficiency you want to gain. Go beyond wishing to be proficient. Go beyond hoping to be proficient. Go beyond expecting to be proficient. Get to the point of anticipating that I am going. It's not I wish I could be. It's not I hope I get that there. It's not like I expect to improve. It is like I am anticipating to gain this proficiency, to gain this skill. I have shared with you a lot of content today in terms of reflecting around these areas. Today's lesson is practical. It's so practical that if we tried to do it here together, we would need 3 hours. And that's why I decided, let's just cover the content. Most of the work is going to remain in your hands. And now we are going to do a very quick round of reflection. Please share with us what are your key takeaways today, and then commit to do. I would like everybody to finish your sharing with the statement, I commit to. After you shared, maybe please make it like 2, 3 brief, and then you complete your reflection with I commit to, then tell us 2 or 3 things that you're going to do. And we are going to start the reflection with Brainy.
Hey, Job, can you just skip to the next person, please? I'm still reflecting on it.
Okay, let's go with James.
So very quickly, I think my key takeaway was the whole concept of anticipation. I think that is what I got the most from, and it is different to. I think what's becoming clear to me at this point is the whole point of awareness, knowing what are the things we do and how we can engage in more of those, the feelings, the emotions we experience, and how we can experience them more often than we do when they just come naturally, when we have to wait for them, when we cannot trigger them from within. And I think anticipation is a really important one, and I am really looking forward to consciously building it, being there, anticipating everything I want out of life over the next years till I get to 65. So I think the 3 things I commit to is I commit to building anticipation, I commit to improving my clarity, and I commit to building necessity.
Wow.
Those are, yeah.
I love it. Thank you, James. Let's hear from Judith.
So I just came in late, so I'll need time to watch the whole video first, and then I can be able to reflect.
Okay, thank you. Diba? As Diba gets ready, Rumbi.
Hello?
Okay, Diba, go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. And apologies for coming in late.
Diba, your internet is your voice is breaking
Just
out.
finishing up another meeting. So we will have to be on anticipation. Hello?
Continue.
Hello?
Continue.
Hello, Job. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you better now.
Yes. So yes, like I was saying, so my takeaway will be on anticipation. I try to look and dig deep and look for that urgency and energy action. So this idea of consciously anticipating for this, for growth, for skills, for opportunities, is, I find it very interesting. I think this is one of the things I'll be doing every day as I get out of the bed. So this was very captivating me. In terms of the statements of commitment, is it?
Mm-hmm.
I commit to I'm committing to participate for growth, for abundance and significance every morning. It will be a routine for me from tomorrow. That's my commitment going forward. Yes, yeah, that's it from me. Over. I hope you guys had
Thank you, Diba. Yeah, we could hear you. I think it's the network where you are that fluctuates, but that's like we got a bit of what you are sharing. Let's hear from Tobias.
Hello.
Yes, Tobias.
For me, this session, what I saw is the scaling part. Like when you write down the relationship, time, contribution, finances. When it comes to the scales, it's shocking for me because I'm like, yeah, I'm doing this bad. I didn't know until I reflect on myself. On this respecting yourself, that's another thing I also picked on, because at times I like somebody else to respect me, but do I really respect myself? So what I'm thinking on my commitment, I'm first committing to myself and like nijiambie ukweli and stick to my plans. If I commit to do this, I do it. I commit on my skills and not afraid to jump. Like sometimes you think you can do something good, but you're afraid to show it to somebody else. You just want to keep it to yourself. So I commit to expose my skills.
Thank you, Tobias. I'm just loving all of your reflections, guys. We will go to Rumbi, Berlin, then Brenny.
Thank you, Doctor. Okay, so for me, the main areas that I see as being something that I would need to or I want to work on is the self-respect as well. And as we were doing the necessity level, the ratings, I realized that my self-respect is quite low. And then when we're talking now about the areas of clarity and consistency, I realized that my main the areas, what was causing me not to have self-respect was a lack of consistency. Like sometimes I set a goal, but then I don't commit myself to it. Or if I don't feel like it, I don't do it. And so it really helped me it was like a light bulb moment for me, that if I want to be able to gain self-respect, it starts with me being consistent, and also with me having the self-discipline and the reliability to actually do the things that matter first. So that's a key takeaway for me. So I commit myself to working on self-respect by being consistent and showing up and doing the first things first of high quality.
Wow. That's a profound reflection. Thank you for sharing with us, Rumbi. Let's hear from Berlin.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, so today my biggest takeaway when I was rating myself, I realized that at first I did a higher rating of myself when on some items, and then with explanation and reflection, I did lower on others. I kept changing it, and when I reached the level I am at now, it showed me that I might, in some areas I might think I'm doing so well, but I really don't understand what the area is about. I did not understand, or rather, and the one biggest takeaway for me is where I have my biggest gap, which for me would have been in work and career, but I think I have just had a big revelation that now I know why that is the case. I did not, before I started this, I did not have a convergence of goals. So my goals were all going different directions. And once I started converging my goals, now I see like my career is going somewhere. I can, in fact, when you're speaking of anticipation, this is one area that I moved from hoping and now I am anticipating. I have have been able to visualize what I want and what I need to do to get it. And I'm still working on the process, but this is one area that has really, really helped me. And I'm really anticipating or something I have really seen on the on clarity and necessity. I have noticed that I have very low self-discipline, and I really need to work on my consistency. So I want to commit to pursue high clarity, self-discipline, and consistency. These I think will really, really push me over the goals that I want to achieve.
Wow, thank you. Thank you, Berlin. That's why we do this work, so that it can help us continue gaining greater clarity in the areas we need to. Brainy.
Oh, thank you, Job, and thank you everyone else for contributing. You know, the interesting thing is every day when we have this session, I think like, oh wow, this was the deepest thing I really learned today. Until it's like every day you keep, dropping new jewels. And something that really resonated with me today was anticipation. It's like, having to see things before you even believe it. Because when you have that anticipation, it's like you're already seeing your goals happening before you even do it. It's like you're already in that point. And then also the other thing about when you were talking about having us, re-evaluating our commitment. And I just want to say, like, I'm really proud of myself because I've really committed myself when it comes to physical health, emotional, relationship time, financial goals. And then also another thing about clarity that we talked about last week, that has really helped me to, figure out, prioritize what are my must do goals in a day. Because I do have classes every day, like back to back from 9 till your session. But then after this, like I'll write down every day because there's something you kept telling us, like remember to write down, ask yourself what are your top 3 priorities every day. And every day I'll write that down. So after your session, my mind automatically knows like I'm gonna take 20 minutes break, but then it knows like after 20 minutes, this is what you're supposed to do. So when it comes to that, I'll just usually give myself 45 minutes, work on it, and move on to the next thing. And then also about self-respect, I love that you brought this up because basically you really get what you tolerate, and it begins with how, you know, with your own perception of yourself and the relationship that you have with yourself. And if you don't really respect yourself, or you don't have that self-discipline, nobody else is going to give you that, because self-respect and self-discipline, I feel like that they complement each other. You can't do the other one without this one.
Yeah.
So yeah, without that being said, I just really appreciate that. So thank you and have a great day, and everyone else.
I commit to. That's the final bit, Brainy. Brainy, are you there?
Sorry, I just finished talking. So yeah, thank you.
Okay, that's fine. All right. Okay, everyone. Thank you for your reflections. This was a very substance-heavy session, and so there are some ingredients I decided to defer. We will cover those later. But if you make, for example, anticipation, if you practice it as a skill, practice it, even if you just practice it in one area, it will start affecting all the other areas of your life. So go ahead and use it whichever way is practical for you. That will be it from me today. My name is Dr. Job Mogire from the House of Mastery. Thank you for attending yet another session of the 90-Day Breakthrough Challenge. Look forward to meeting you all tomorrow. Please continue doing the work, or today you will write a version of your speech that would be given by your best friend at your 65th birthday. I hope yesterday you wrote someone from your workplace, so that by tomorrow you will have four people's words. So once again, that's it for today. I look forward to see you tomorrow. Goodbye and have a great day. Continue living with passion.